you don't think that I'm over there, you've not caught on to this yet.
Now I want to go look, see where we are.
We are, it says live. Let's see.
Are we live?
Here we are. We are. I'll just see a couple of tweets about living in the future. Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Are we officially live?
We are.
People are watching us.
People are watching us and people and cheering us because we managed it.
What's the channel again? Is it Dex Envoy?
It is Envoy Gateway. It's twitch.tv/Envoy Gateway.
And it says we're live.
Look at that.
Oh, look at that. I see it. It's frozen. Oh, there I go. All right. I'm going to stop looking over there because it's going to drive me crazy to look there and look here and look. I'm not looking there. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Amanda. I think the kitty has finally gotten disgusted that there's not enough glory in his co-hosting responsibilities.
The cat would have definitely added some comic relief.
I'm sure he'll be in and out. He does not like being ignored very much.
Don't worry, viewers. There'll be plenty of comedy here. Plenty of comedy. Don't worry. Plenty of nonsense to be said here. 3 minutes until we officially start, right?
Yep.
So I can go make myself a sandwich or something like that. I'll be back. No, I'm just.
Oh, okay.
No.
Yeah.
And you guys do this late. You know I'm an early bird. I'm an old person living in Florida. I normally don't stay up past this time. Well, yes, I'm usually up till 10, but I'm usually not.
That my secretary set up the timing for this one.
Well, yeah, you know, your secretary's a bonehead. And I think I know who that is, assuming I know who that is. Actually, I thought he was going to be the interviewer here. And I've definitely been upgraded by having you here. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm saying.
We held a session where we showed him the back end of how Twitch works, and his eyes spun in opposite directions, and smoke came out of his ears. And I said, you know what? No,
it's not like
I'm just going to do this.
It's not like he spent his whole career in technology and computer support for major companies or anything like that, right?
No, nothing like that. No.
Just it's like whenever somebody says something about technology and I don't get it. They're like, weren't you in IT? I'm like, yes, for 35 years. But certain things, you just miss certain things. So
well, when you blink and things change.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And so even for me, I was like, wait, how does Discord baffles me because it's enough like IRC. I'm like, this should work familiar, and it doesn't.
Discord to me is like a BBS system. It really is. It's just, it's so weird that old has become new again. That's one of the weird ones. We have 1 minute until 9 o'clock.
We have 1 minute.
1 minute.
Yeah.
So this is our chit chat session.
Yep. People who are watching, I'm going to be monitoring the chat, but Stephen isn't because the lag is a little disorienting when you're trying to be coherent.
When you're trying to be on and engaging and actually make coherent sentences, I don't want to look at that. I'll just see myself talking 15 seconds later or before. It's time travel. It doesn't work.
Yeah, I've just got the screen shoved off to the side so I see the chat, but not the rest of it. I've tricked my brain into not worrying about the lag.
You are smart. You're smart.
Okay, hopefully. So it's 9 o'clock. Oh,
it is.
You were going to say something.
No, I was just going to say, I don't know what I was going to say. Let's go. It's 9 o'clock. It's 9 o'clock Eastern time. It's 9 o'clock everywhere.
All right. So I am Avonelle Wing, and I'm here to talk with Stephen Buonocore, who used to be the president of Stronghold and is now retired to Florida.
Oh, enjoying myself in Florida, yes.
And we're here to talk about the state of gaming in 2020, which is as on fire as almost everything except the White House right now.
Oh my God. So the first thing that you put into the notes was like the events of the past year. And I made myself some quick notes on the events of this past year because it's like 2020 is like absolutely insane, right?
Right.
So COVID, obviously, well, that's the overriding one. Kobe dies, the Black Lives Matter movement. It's changing America as it should.
As it should.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg dies. I think the entire nation simultaneously said,
something like 53% of us said.
Well, it was just a monumental event why couldn't you just live 3 more months? We dropped a bomb on an Iranian general. Australian fires burnt up most of the country. California fires burning up California and my great Napa Valley. Harry and Meghan, they depart the royal family. There was an impeachment. Harvey friggin' Weinstein, good riddance. Murder hornets, they never became a thing, murder hornets, but they were there for a minute.
Don't dare them.
Don't, right? Brexit finalized. It's like, really?
Brain-eating amoebas in Texas.
And I'm just, literally, if zombies started like pounding on the window, they'd be like, oh, okay, we got zombies now. All right, just stay inside, Paula. Let's just be careful here.
Keep the cat in.
I mean, really, it's been an epic year, and epic in the absolute worst way, of course. And as to bring it into gaming, we've all had to adjust in so many ways to the new normal in gaming, which we all hope will be short-lived. It's not short because after 1 year, you go from, we talk in finance about short-term, mid-term, long-term. After a year, we go into a long-term. So we're hoping it's not going to be truly a long-term event. But that new normal has brought all kinds of changes to the industry and just to us as gamers, because not only are we previously in the true part of the industry, I'm now in game media. It's huge also to out there and to the way they have to deal with all the games that they have there in their collection and how they can relate to them and to other gamers. So I guess that's our topic for tonight.
That is our topic. So obviously face-to-face gaming is very tricky, and there are very few areas of the country where people are able to game face-to-face. There are some areas that are, right? There's some retailers that have plexiglass partitions. There's at least one convention that is convinced that they're happening in November. But what have you been doing to getting your gaming fix? Tell us about how you
actually, before I even answer, there's actually a convention that's allegedly going on. Which one is that? I didn't know. Actually, you don't even want to say it, really?
I don't even. I'm so flummoxed that I'm just not, because I'm hoping they change their mind.
Well, tell me about it. On the download. I just want to know because I would report on it for my podcast, Board Games Insider. We'll plug later and stuff. But as far as my my gaming fix, it's it's kind of interesting. I missed 15 trips this year. That I would have taken. Yeah, 15 trips that I would have taken as part of being president of Stronghold, and then just doing things on my own. I was still going to go to Essen. I was still going to go to BGG Con. So all of the Gen Con was actually right at when I retired. So we were going to have a retirement party, all that. So all that stuff went away, and all that gaming and socializing went away. But my gaming fix, the actual sitting at a table fix, or whatever kind of gaming that I do, has been Paula and I have been doing more and more gaming lately, which is wonderful. Now in retirement, that's just kind of more time to do that. And hopefully a lot of people out there actually, because a lot of people have stopped their commuting, right? So a lot of people are working at home. So maybe some of that time hopefully is turned into their gaming time. But I've gamed more with Paula over the last 8-9 months than I ever have. And we've also, and by the way, and that has been Gloomhaven has been a big thing we've done, and just other kind of lighter games that we do. I actually got in a great game in front of people of War of the Ring, my favorite game. We just was a
Nice.
2-player game. So Roy Canaday of the Dice Tower and I got together and we played and we posted about it. So I've had more time to do those things. But the in-person stuff has mostly been obviously with Paula, with Percy, the cat, watching on and getting angry that we're not paying attention to him all of a sudden. And then on the digital side, I've been playing more digital implementations of board games. So like I've been playing Terraforming Mars digitally, which is a great implementation, and I don't have to plug it
Which
anymore, but it
platform?
just is a great implementation.
Which platform?
Oh, and that's using Steam or iOS. Okay, it's implemented on both of those. So yeah, not on some of the ones that a lot of people are using. These are actual implementations of the game on one of those platforms. And finally, one of the things that has really come into play is that I've been doing more gaming truly face to face, air quotes on that, with some of my friends back in New Jersey, via playing role playing games, Pathfinder in particular. We now have a weekly Pathfinder game that we do, where we get together on Zoom. Plus, we have like a second. I'll have my iPad there to do other things on it at the same time as we're on Zoom for the role playing, and that's sort of the main gaming fixes that I have. But there's been so many more other things, social fixes, to fill in all of these gaps as well.
Such as?
So plugging a little bit, as in retirement, I'm on the gaming media side now. I do it for fun, not monetizing it. Don't care about that anymore. So I've rebranded as the Podfather of gaming, and I run a bi-weekly, twice a week, bi-weekly sometimes every 2 weeks, twice a week happy hour. And I've been doing this ever since COVID started. And we do it Thursdays at 7, excuse me, Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern time and Sundays at 4 p.m. Eastern time. We can engage the Europeans a little bit more there. And all we do is we get together for 1 hour at those 2 times, and we just chat about what's going on in our lives. Stay positive. There are a lot of people out there that have nobody, right? You've got Vinny, and you've got other people that live in your place. I have Paula. There are people who are seeing nobody right now. So I'm giving people an outlet to just meet and hang out and talk and have silly fun. And I particularly say it's an R-rated thing. So it's like we post the video on YouTube after we do it, and we no holds barred, but it's not like it's not bad, but we just, it's a happy hour. So there might be some adult beverages hanging out, and we have silly fun. We hang out and we talk to stay positive during these crazy times. Right. We've been getting somewhere between 20 and 40 people that show up, on one or both of those things. And we have some ongoing, not inside jokes, but ongoing topics that keep coming up again. Currywurst is a big thing for some crazy reason because the Germans show up and we talk about currywurst. Okay. But again, this is like the way, because, gamers, what's some of the big knocks against gamers that they're socially awkward. Maybe they're like antisocial. But nothing can be really further than the truth. Maybe some of us are socially awkward, but nothing can be further than the truth that we're antisocial. Because the primary thing about gaming, tabletop gaming, is that we sit around this physical medium here. We put something on the table and we do it together. And we don't have that for the most part now. So the ability to reach out in Zoom has been an absolutely amazing thing to have, to do this, to reach out anywhere in the world and get together and talk and discuss and enjoy each other's companies has been just so good. It's been good for me, and it's been good as well for, I think, the other people that I've been sharing these times with.
I mean, if they're showing back up,
and it's showing back up. We have like the same group that always comes, and then every once in a while, a few more people show up too. So yeah, it's been very, very good, and people have been like, thanking me for it. I'm like, hey, it's helping me too. I don't want to help back out to everybody.
So over in the chat, somebody said, I'd love to be able to see one of Steven's RPG sessions. Any chance you would ever stream one of those?
That's interesting. Um, well, it's like not, I don't own that. So I mean, I'm like, sure, I'd love to show it to you. I'd love to put it out there. I'd have to get permission from some of the people you know.
Or it might actually be fun to, at some point, set up a charity stream where people pay in order to be able to see you play a one-shot.
I would love to. If anybody out there wants to do that, I'll even put money into the charity to have you do that, and maybe other people can do that as well.
Awesome.
Because I'm a ham. I love role playing. I think, and
I'd never
I haven't.
noticed.
Yeah, you wouldn't notice that. I haven't role played, since 3 years before I left New Jersey. And if most people out there know, right? I live in Florida now. I lived in New Jersey, not too far from where you guys live. And I stopped role playing up there only because of like being crazy busy, before the merger with Indie Boards and Cards, and then that, and then the transition coming down here. So I didn't have a gaming group or anything like that. COVID and Zoom has reinvigorated the getting your face back with people. So friends from New Jersey said, hey, Steven, you still love role playing, you still want to do it? I'm like, yes. Paula and I are in, and we started it, and we're having a great time with that. If anybody out there wants to set up a charity thing or just a one-shot thing, I am in 100%. Reach out.
Awesome. Another question we got is, someone said solo gaming has been a big help through the pandemic. Are there solo titles that you've personally had fun with, either through the pandemic or in the past, or is that just not your thing?
It's really not. I'm not. To me, putting out a physical game and soloing it, it just isn't my thing. I just never was. I mean, I've dabbled with, like, I played some of the Stronghold titles, like Fire by Freedom and Freeze, and finished. Also, those are 2 solo games that he did and we published, so I played those. But in general, bringing out a game to set it up and then go through a solo scenario, not my thing. I have a gamer here, so I'd rather try to convince Paula to play a cooperative game with me or a competitive game with me. But I will point out, of course, you see right behind me there, the old Terraforming Mars is right there, and people keep posting about their solo experiences with it. It's, for a game that's normally 2 to 5 players, but it plays with one, it plays solo. It's got a great solo experience that built in. Again, I don't need to pimp this anymore, but why not? It is a great game, and I would recommend it because, well, I love it too.
Awesome. So then another question was, someone asked, do you have the anniversary edition of War of the Ring?
No, I do not have the anniversary. I have the collector's edition of War of the Ring.
Oh, fancy.
The collector's edition, for those who don't know, was released before, like, they released 2nd edition War of the Ring. And then after that, they had the anniversary edition. So the collector's edition came out from Ares Games, the original publisher of it. The board itself is so big that it barely fits on this very large gaming table that I'm actually sitting on. Once I take the top off and I put the board in, it barely fits in there. All the miniatures are painted. All the components are just blinged out like crazy in the base thing. And overall, it comes in this huge wooden book. It looks like, when you're holding it, I can't obviously do it now on this screen. When you're holding it, it must be 4 feet by 3 feet. When you're holding it, you look like a hobbit.
Wow.
It's unbelievable. Amazing. So if anybody wants to go out there, look for War of the Ring Collector's Edition. When it first came out, and it came out somewhere around 2010, 12, so about 2012, the retail price then was $400. Sold out immediately. Right. You can't get it on the secondary market for under like $1,800, $2,000.
Wow.
It's, because it's just a gorgeous piece. And then, of course, even at that, I had to bling it out more. So I bought like some 3D pieces to put for the various cities and strongholds on Middle Earth. So that's my number one game, and uh, every and now when I have extra time in retirement, I'm definitely gonna be playing it a lot. COVID is cramping my style here a little bit, but I'm gonna get together with Roy again, and we're gonna do this.
Nice. Um, so you actually, I think, probably regularly talk to more industry folks than I do because you're just a much more social creature. Um, I spent a month after Gen Con under the bed with the blanket over my head because Gen Con was just such a weird, hard, non-Gen Con experience.
This Gen Con was a horror for you?
Well, so we run the first exposure playtest hall.
Sure.
And a lot of what we do is based around the physical space.
Right.
And as you know from our conventions, I spend a lot of time setting expectations and making sure that people feel safe and supported, and that there's someone that if there's a problem you can go to. So a lot of what we do once we launch a session in the actual physical first exposure hall is just monitor and check on the designers and see if they're doing okay and make sure that the players are having an okay time. And using Discord and the email and setting up the designers with their players and then having them disappear into the ether. So by 20 minutes in, it was silent.
So there was no feedback loop for you.
Nothing.
So that's I see what you're saying. And by the way, just for everybody out there, if they don't know, Envoy does an absolutely amazing job of running that first exposure playtest hall and keeping designers feeling good. Really it's like a safe space oasis at the craziness that is Gen Con. And thank you for doing that for all these years. And you will be doing it again. I know you will.
We will.
You will. Not like maybe. And I'm thinking next year. Not a religious person, but I
pray. Fingers crossed for science to catch up.
Yes.
And so, what was I saying? Oh, so you talk to more industry people more regularly than I do. What is the pulse? How are people in general feeling about the process of making and selling games?
So this is it's very interesting. So I during owner and then as president of Stronghold Games, I never talked about the physical sales in detail, in like exact numbers. It's not appropriate. There are companies out there, Stonemeyer Games. Jamie posts his sales. God bless. If he would like to do that, that's fine. As a private company, we wouldn't do that. It's sort of like knowledge that you keep inside. However, I'm gonna release some stuff for you for people listening, and I have talked about it on my podcast too. When I left, as of July 31st, Stronghold Games, the brand Stronghold Games, was ahead for the year, ahead 15% year over year, which is staggeringly good in this environment. Now, having said that, there was 1 month, sales month of May, right? COVID hits in April, people are still doing buying. The sales month of May, the sales were from distribution, hobby distribution, essentially zero. It was like $1,000, in sales. I mean, nobody's making money when you sell $1,000. Amazon has purchased so much and has sold so much that it has made up for all of that, and we were up 15%. And I believe that year over year, we'll see some double-digit growth in sales by the end of the year. I will not be privy, and I don't care. It's not my thing. God bless. I love indie game studios and Stronghold Games brand, and they are going to kill it. And it's been great. As far as that brings up the other question, like, well, how are we selling? How are we marketing? Right? I mean, the marketing portion of this is a huge thing. We have no conventions to show them to people. We have no true trade shows. to show the retailers what we have, and that's a huge question. So, and that's the portion that some of it had to be reinvented for the new games. But the interesting portion of that is that starting in like February, we stopped releasing new games. Now, as you know, as much as anybody, Stronghold Games traditionally released a lot of titles every year
Right.
because we had a lot of stuff coming from the foreign partners. In February, we stopped. Even though we had stuff in the pipeline, we said, well, we don't have the proper sales channels to now release these games.
Right.
So we cut it off. And then we waited and waited. So then we waited until the early September through September into October, November, December to then start releasing all the titles. And we were going to do a lot less this year anyway, but to release all the titles that were pent up. So a lot, so our rolling rights that we were supposed to release back in April got delayed, et cetera, et cetera. So other games. The marketing that we've done on those titles, I'm sure, was not adequate. I don't know the exact sales on how they did early on, but certainly we have used and Indie continues to use the virtual conventions to do the marketing, and whereby we have created certain sales and certain marketing things that have occurred. We did it for a little bit at Virtual Gaming Con. That's the Board Game Geek / Dice Tower thing that happened first. This was the first real try at virtual gaming on a bigger scale. And then at Gen Con, we ran a big sale there. Sales mean we bundle things. You can buy the individual items, or hey, you want them all the new stuff. Here you go, a nice big bundle of new Stronghold and or indie titles, and you can pick and choose. So that's been the new norm of getting the word out. What I'm really interested in seeing is what's going to happen at Essen, where the Spiel, which is coming up in only 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks, where most games of the year come out. And how are those games going to now be received and marketed? Will the eyeballs of gamers be on them? And that's a mystery to me as well, because how many people are going to be looking, and are the Americans going to be now engaging with that online convention? I think they will, because Board Game Geek is taking a big role in the whole thing, as they always have. So they're going to be doing big live streams from here of gameplays. The Dice Tower is going to be doing that. But that whole thing is going to be very interesting. And the biggest portion of all, I know I'm kind of moving on to many, many topics sort of at the same time, but one of the biggest portions of the sales that I reported on are the Evergreen titles. So Terraforming Mars has blown it out of the water this year. In fact, to the point where we had printed, having no idea about COVID, we had printed too many, not really, because you're going to sell them. But we had like sort of almost an extra print run sort of at the end of last year, because we wanted to join the Europeans in their printing. So we'll do another, couple of containers over there. Thank God, because we would have been out months ago, and now we're running out again, but we've got another print coming. So the Evergreen titles, it's sort of like in the stock market, it's called a flight to quality. You ever heard that term, where like when like people get scared of something, they run to gold, right? I gotta sell everything else. I'm gonna buy gold and hold that, or I'm gonna buy only the blue chip stocks. Flight to quality. So people have picked up. So gamers have picked up on like, well, I don't know about this new stuff, but I've always wanted to copy Terraforming Mars. I want to copy Survive. I want the Resistance. I want these titles that everyone knows that they don't have in their collection. And that is a big thing that we've seen over this year that have driven sales as well as we've seen them.
That's really interesting. It makes sense that like we are buying a game for this month to get us through, and it's going to be this aspirational game that we've never bothered picking up.
Right, that we know about, we might have even played, but our buddies, one of our friends has it and I can't see her. I want to, okay, I'm going to play it here, and I'm going to get my significant other or my kids to play that game with me now, because I have my gaming group here that I'm gonna play with. So yeah, that's been
Right.
that's the flight to known items that I think that we have seen this year. But getting those new games out is always hard. It's always hard to try to figure out how you're going to get that next title seen and known,
Right.
and
Well,
it's twice as hard now.
it's interesting because there's been so much talk in the last, I would say, 3 years over the fact that scoring a hit to create an evergreen is so different and hard and in many ways insurmountable these days because there's such a fire hose of new stuff coming out
Yep.
that it's interesting that like the course reversed. This is all now backward of what we were saying 18 months ago. 18 months ago, we were saying focus on the new stuff, understand that you may not ever hit an evergreen and keep moving. And so it's fascinating that this has changed that path.
Yeah, well, I think what we're saying that you better have an evergreen. If your company has long-term survival, you need that. And I had
You
predicted
couldn't
that.
rely on any new title to be that.
Absolutely. And I had made predictions on Board Games Insider, my podcast with Ignacy of Portal Games. I had made a prediction. We do a predictions episode at the beginning of every year, and we predicted pre-COVID, and I predicted this is not going to be a good year for the industry. Having no idea about this, but it's not, and it's not that bad of a bad year on sales. But I predicted, you know what? I think we're going to see some major players starting to leave the industry because they just can't make enough money, and that just you have to do that at some point. Um, and while we haven't really seen that, I don't know that we've seen the fallout of everything. Um, the
Right.
people, the companies that have evergreen titles, and of course, do we have to define that for people? Evergreen titles, a title that sells over time. Every year, you can almost guarantee that you're going to sell one container load of this game, whatever a container load means to somebody. It could be 5,000, it could be 10,000 units of the game. You're always going to sell that. And that kind of fuels the rest of the company going forward. I predicted that we might have a problem where people weren't going to be able to continue who didn't have that. And we don't know what the fallout is of everything. But I do see from what I can see out there is that good companies that have evergreen titles are doing well. Obviously, from my actual knowledge, they are selling more, or at least the same as they did last year. And it's going to be an interesting thing to come into next year, into convention season, and see what people are doing now, with new games and stuff like that. And Kickstarter has become bigger than ever for this whole thing.
Yeah,
Bigger than ever.
I was talking to someone that knows quite a bit about the back end of Kickstarter, and evidently, even though there were fewer Kickstarters running during quarter 2 and 3, the amount of money raised in board games was equivalent or bigger than last year, which is just astounding.
Yes, I saw those numbers. Projects were down, dollars were up, and I mean that's really actually a good thing. Because we have all talked about this dearth of games, this just riches amounts of games that you can go out there and buy, new ones. It's not even like the older ones that are out there, but all these new games. You know, just trying to focus on getting less games out there. Every publisher needs to do this. Focus on getting less games out there with a higher quality and market them better. That's the way the industry in general is going to survive. And during this, these times, I mean, that's the best advice I can give to anybody. Focus on less titles that you do really well and promote really highly.
You just broke the hearts of every designer walking around clutching their baby to their chest, hoping to pitch it to a publisher.
No, and that's a thing, and we understand that, and we always, we want to be sympathetic to designers, and but designers need to up their game as well, right? So don't, as a designer, don't pitch games that do things that have been done again and again and again. Look for that thing that on one of the scales that people want, do it better than anything else. On theme, on mechanics, or something I always say, funtastics. If you can excel on one of those or all of those and be unique in any of those, that's when you get something like, wow, as a publisher, oh my gosh, look, that thing is dripping with theme and it's just so fun. And I've never seen that before. Then you become something and then we want it. And then you have a fight over it. And that's a good thing. That's the other side of it. Like, sure, we have to do less games, but you got to up your game to get in. And that's a good thing.
So what design constraints do you feel COVID has introduced for people that are trying to pitch things? Like, what should they be changing about how they're thinking about the games they're designing in order to sell it to publishers during this socially distanced chaos?
Difficult question. Pretty big question. As far as the types of games, unless we're going like digital, and that's like true digital, whole separate thing. I don't think that a game is going to sell or not sell more now based on its type. Maybe games with too many, like large player groups, but I don't agree. But no, on the other side, if you can also get that party game and you can do it on a big Zoom meeting, you got even a bigger hit now. That's even a greater thing. So I don't think it changes the designs. COVID hasn't changed the designs. I think what COVID has changed for a designer is that they've got to figure out more creative ways of meeting us, right? Of meeting publishers. Can't see us at conventions. You can't see us at trade shows. You can't see us walking down the street too much. But you've got Tabletop Simulator, you got Tabletopia, you got these other tools. So you've got to utilize them. And you might not even be technical. Well, you know what? It's a good time to, and I haven't learned those things. I don't need to. But it's a good time so to kind of get that skill set together and learn those tools, implement your baby, implement your dream, your design on something like that, and then do everything else that you would normally do except the face-to-face things. Reach out to the publishers that it makes sense to reach out to, right? You don't pitch a party game to GMT Games, right? You don't,
in theory.
You pitch your games to the right companies, know the market, pitch your games to the right companies. This is the normal stuff that you would always do. And follow up professional sell sheet out there that makes sense and network virtually. And then once you get a bite, boom, get the publisher on there, show them your dream as you've implemented it in a digital medium, but show them how it would be done, actually through a physical medium in the end. I had somebody who I did a Shark Tank, right? So I did it recently. I did it after retirement in August, and I was on the panel, and we were doing it over the internet like this. We're looking at sell sheets. Some of them were showing us the game. That was great, and some people showed it to us on Tabletop Simulator, and the person who was like so fidgety with the stuff, and he was like pointing to this and then pointing, moving, and I'm like, I don't, slow down, relax, we're okay, we're good people. Just show it to me like you're explaining the game to a gamer. Just gently go through it. It wasn't a good experience for me, especially somebody who's not used on those platforms anyway. But implement it. Run through your demos, have that demo script that you would now do slowly on your Tabletop Simulator. You might even get more time if you think about it with a publisher now virtually, because if you're meeting them at a convention,
they're on their way to their next meeting.
They gotta go. Yep. I gotta get a drink. I gotta eat. I gotta do something. So you might even get more time if you do get your foot in the door, because they're sitting at home at their game table and they're gonna relax a little bit with you and do it. So prepare yourself. Use the tools that are out there, and I think you can do a good job.
I want to promote two other people's projects, and one thing that we're doing that helps designers for this. One is NunPub, which is the virtual Unpub. They do their Shark Tank thing, their feeding frenzy, I think is what they call it. So check them out. I don't know if they have officially scheduled a their next digital, but they are talking about it. The Pitch Project, and I don't remember who that's being. Yeah, so talk about it.
I'm on the
Talk
judge.
about
I'm
it.
on the judging panel. I think it might be closed now though for
I think the deadline is today.
get in your cell sheets. So the pitch project's great. So they reached out to me and they asked me to be a judge. And I, because, you know, I'm retired and I have so much time on my hands, I said, of course I'll be a judge. Of course, of course. So they're taking cell sheets in and we're not judging the pitch, which of course is the best thing for you to do. But with 700 submissions, what we're judging is your cell sheet.
Okay.
And so you have to have a cell sheet made. You submit that, and then a panel of judges. I'm going to get 25 of these things, and I'm going to grade them. And I'm going to grade them on the always on the levels of what's the clarity, you know, of the thing. Do I understand the game by this? What is the target audience going to want this game? Um, how does it look? How does it present the designer? It's all of these things, and we're going to rate them.
You picked a font that undermines everything you're trying to do.
your font is crazy. Don't use that font. I can't read this thing. And then I forgot what the prizes are at the end, but yeah. So they picked a really nice group of judges. It's all I know really, and I don't know anything about the games that I'm going to be the cell sheets I'm going to be looking at. They picked a great group of judges that are some of them are designers, a lot of them are from the publishing side, and if you can get in, do it. It's the Pitch Project 2020 is their Facebook group. I don't know if you can give any kind of link or anything like that. I'm donating. They've given honorariums to the judges, and I'm donating my honorarium to the Jack Vassell Memorial Fund, which is a great charity for gamers. Hardships that any gamer might come in. So if you have a hardship, check out jackvassell.org. I'm on the board of directors, and we give out money to people who in need, to gamers, people who are gamers and they've had a hardship in their life, not of their own making. So happy to be doing this pitch project, and it's one of those just little things that I want to continue doing to help give back to the gaming community.
It's fantastic. The third thing I wanted to mention is that with Metatopia, which is Double Exposure's game design festival and professional development convention for people who are involved in the art and business of making and selling games. On the 5th of November, we are going to be doing a Guppy Bowl event where people who are not quite ready for Shark Tank get an opportunity to practice pitching. We'll go through cell sheets and help you make your cell sheet better.
How come I'm not invited to do that with you?
We are just now nailing down the details.
I'm sure that I was on your short list of people to call.
Well, you're retired. I assume you have all this time and you're not sitting in airports anymore.
That's right. Please let me know. I'll be there.
So CrowdOx is coordinating that and kind of taking all of their experience with people that take things to Kickstarter and all of their talking to people in the industry about what makes for a good pitch. And then on Sunday, which is the 8th of November, Heather O'Neill, who is with Ninth Level Games, is hosting an actual speed pitching event, so that it's more of a traditional, you get an opportunity to do your pitch very quickly to some publishers. And there is a ton of information on the Double Exposure Facebook page, but I will cross-pollinate that over to the Envoy Facebook page so that people can find it.
Yeah, and plugging what you guys have done at Metatopia for years and years and years, and you helped Stronghold Games when it was a young company. Fantastic designer publisher meetup essentially for 3 days, where we get to just look at designs and designs and designs, and I used it as my launching point for so many games that I was going to do the next year around, games that I brought back from Essen. Or games that I saw there at Metatopia. So you do a great job with that convention. Thank you very much.
Well, and we did try to set up a cycle where you play tested it and you got it on the table at Metatopia. If you were a designer, by the time you got to Dreamation, it was refined and hopefully it was actually ready for either Gen Con or BGG or Essen that year. Like we were hoping, and in many cases it worked out that way, that there was a rhythm to it where Metatopia was the end of the convention season for a lot of people, or right before BGG, and then you switched over to all the stuff you do to maintain the next year.
Right. It was great. It was really, really, really useful for us.
So Metatopia this year is entirely online. The playtesting is going to be very casual because I can't handle not being able to see the playtests and not being able to like check in on people and provide that anchor.
Sure.
But there's a forum on the Envoy Gateway that will allow designers to schedule their playtests, so that if somebody has something that has been implemented digitally, you can go in and find players, and we'll be shuffling people who are lamenting the fact that they don't get to play test things this year over to the Gateway. But we're also going to have at least 75 hours of panel programming at the same level of a normal Metatopia. People have pitched some really fantastic concepts, and we're being able to pull in an international community this year. Because what is a time zone? And there's no airfare involved. So basically, Darren and I have gone through our wish list of everybody that we've ever wanted to pull into this thing and been like, hey, what do you want to talk to us about? So I think it'll be some really excellent programming from an even more diverse than normal audience.
Very cool.
We have a question from the audience saying, do you think conventions will ever go back to the way they were when a vaccine becomes available?
The answer
I'll let you take that once, and then
the answer is yes. However, I do think that every physical convention of size, so let's talk about the big ones, right? The Origins, Gen Con, Essen, at least that size, will always have a digital component as well. That's sort of my view now. So you can't go to Gen Con, you're always going to have an ability to see what's going on. That's the way I think it's going to happen. Yes, I do think we'll be back to conventions in 2021. However, having said that, I am an eternal optimist. I'm just an optimistic person, and I'm a positive person. And I've been optimistic this whole year, and everything I said has been wrong. But there's at least a good thing about being optimistic, right? It's good for your mental health to try to be optimistic and not think that the world is crumbling around you at all times. It might be, and that's bad. Reach out, get help, talk to friends, things like that. But in the meantime, I'm going to try to be optimistic about the world and about gaming, and about the industry, and about life. And I hope, I would love that I go to all the conventions most next year. Even in retirement, I'm a gamer, I'm going. I missed out on all of them this year. Oh, I missed out on all of them. It's killing me. So I want to go there and I want to see everybody. I want to see my friends. I want to see the fans. I want to just be with everybody. It's just and I'll have more fun this time than I would have this past year working. I'm going to hang out, walk the halls, chill out, play some games, drink some beer. I'm really looking forward to the physical conventions again. And I'm hoping it happens next year.
So I am the opposite end of the spectrum. I maintain my mental health with a serious dose of skepticism, because then I don't end up deeply disappointed and moping for a month. And I think that the soonest we're going to see a significant in-person convention is probably autumn of next year at the soonest. I think that there are going to be significant changes. I think that it's going to be a long time before people are even remotely comfortable packing in like they do at the land rush at the beginning of like Gen Con opening the exhibit hall.
But we don't need to do that.
Is going to be different.
But we don't need to do that. And silly that people like, I've got to relax, just go in.
But I suspect that there's going to be some conversations about how publishers transition. You know, they'll be like, okay, we're going to put out this new title in batches, and you don't have to be there at the first.
Yes.
We're changing that because a lot of people market at conventions relying on that hype and the drama of it. And I think there's going to be some transitions there. I think people are going to be a lot more conscious about plague and hand sanitizer, hand washing stations, wearing a mask if you don't feel well, possibly wearing a mask when you're in sort of neutral space. And I think that there's going to be a transition to more space and smaller events, right? It's going to be hard. For example, first exposure, we are packed in there as tightly as we can manage within fire codes. And I think that we're going to discover that we're going to drop back some just to increase the space and to adjust. But the question of, is it going to go back to the way it was before? We don't, like, the country recovered from the flu of 1918, and things advanced and changed and progressed. And so, yeah, there were adjustments, but then there were other things that improved on and adjusted. So do I think we're going to be having in-person regional conventions next year? I don't know, because the smaller and the more local the convention, the more likely it is to happen. Because if you're not crossing state lines, if
Sure.
you don't have a big international audience, if you are all sort of in the same regional bubble, there's less risk. But I think that we're going to discover that convention center conventions are just a little iffy next year. The other thing that's going to affect it is whether or not our hotel friends survive.
I think all the major
Venues are
hotel,
gonna
yeah, I mean,
matter.
that's a bigger discussion now. That's an economic, it's a macroeconomic discussion. But I think that each of us have to think of this. This is such a good discussion. Each of us have to internalize how they deal with this in their own way. I'm like the raging extrovert who is the eternal optimist. You are an introvert who is a skeptic. And that's, there's no right or wrong on that. That's personality. And we will deal with this in different ways. I I like to postulate that if we have a vaccine, let's just assume we do. Assume if we have a vaccine and you get it and it works, let's assume for a moment, at least you do, I do, some people do, then I feel comfortable going back to a sort of normal life on some level, because I'm not going to die. I'm going to be okay, and I want to be in the environment with gamers. If you can't get a vaccine, if you've got pre-existing conditions, if you're just sick and you're high risk, you can't. At least not in the short term, or the medium or the longish term. You can't. So we each have to deal with it. Wrong answer. Be responsible now. Be responsible into the future. And I'm sure that the conventions are taking all of this into account. They will. They have. They will. They are. And they will. Everyone canceled. Grudgingly some, but everyone canceled. And this coming year, they'll do the same thing. Think about it. Figure it out. If we've got the vaccine, if we've got enough people that are okay, they can come, they may run. Again, I deal with it being an optimist. You deal with it skeptical. I think that there's not a right or wrong answer. Be safe, be smart, and we're all going to get through this together. That's sort of my biggest thing about the whole thing.
Um, I've there's a meme going around that says not back to normal, but forward to better. And that's where my mindset is I think that whatever comes
Sure.
next is going to be an improvement in all sorts of ways, because
Yeah.
we're going to be so excited to gather together that we're going to innovate and bring all of that positive energy into it. So that's where my optimism comes in, is that
Very
I
cool.
think we will take what we've learned and do a better job of all of
I agree 100%. Look at that. Perfect agreement.
it. um, so what else is on your agenda? What else would you like to talk about? Do you want to pitch the podcast a little?
Well, yeah, a little bit about what I'm doing now, right? We talked about
Yeah.
what this was going to be about, a little bit about retirement too, right? So again, I mentioned it a little bit. I rebranded, right? Buonocore is now the Podfather of gaming. I got the nickname the Podfather a while ago from, gosh, now I forgot who even gave it to me. But you know, it's a little bit of a putting the Godfather, the Italian from New Jersey thing, and and podcasting, because I used to appear on everybody's podcast, and I still do. If you've got a podcast out there and you'd like me to come on and talk about whatever the industry, good wine, beer, whatever, I'm there for you. Just reach out and we'll do
Favorite
that.
airports.
Favorite airports? I can talk about airports. Absolutely. So I've rebranded myself as the Podfather of gaming. And I'm going to stay in the industry, but on the media side. Again, I'm not monetizing. You'll never see me saying, "Hey, I got a Kickstarter running or a Patreon running." No, no, no. I fund it myself. I'm just giving back my knowledge back to the industry. And so what I'm doing under that umbrella is I'm still doing the podcast that I've been doing now for 5 or 6 years with Ignacy Chevicek, the president of Portal Games. And we do it religiously now, weekly. When conventions are running, we would do it weekly, but then Gen Con would get in the way, and then it'd be bi-weekly, and sometimes we couldn't do it for 3. So it's like, that's been a good thing for the podcast. We've been religiously every week during COVID doing the podcast. And it's a 45-minute. We've increased the time a little bit. It used to be like a half hour. Now it's like 45 minutes where we talk about the news of the industry. We take questions from our guild on Board Game Geek. So you have any questions about gaming, anything, how we got into whatever, those questions. And of course, Ignacy talks about Portal Games. I used to talk about Stronghold, and now I talk about the other things that I'm doing in life. And we keep it light and fun, and we don't waste. Not that a 4-hour podcast wastes your time, but we don't keep you that long. So 45 minutes in and out. And we're actually recording it now, and I'm putting it up on my YouTube channel as well. And I'll give you all the YouTube and the Twitter and stuff like that handles in a minute. I'm also doing, I mentioned the happy hour with the Podfather, and you can come and hang out for an hour twice a week, Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, Sundays at 4 p.m. Eastern. Please check us out. And again, this gets posted on YouTube as well. If you're a little shy, you just want to watch us idiots talking stuff, but come hang out and just chill out. It's fun, and we're trying to keep things very positive for everybody. I'm on Board Game Breakfast now on the Dice Tower Network. That is a weekly live show that is done on YouTube. Tom Vassell, Z Garcia, and myself. I'm the third co-host now of that show. And we do news centered on the new games coming out, because obviously that's the big thing on the Dice Tower. They talk about the new games. So it's centered on that, but I add in the business news as well as we go. And we do a game show as well. So it's me against Tom or me against Z. We do this little game show thing. And we have contributors, the Dice Tower contributors, putting in videos as well. And that's a 1 hour on Thursdays at 10 a.m. On the Dice Tower YouTube channel, and I link it onto my YouTube channel. After that, I'm giving my time up to various people in and tangential to the industry to help them out, mentoring some people. And if anybody out there wants to reach out to me, you can catch me on Twitter at Podfather Gaming. On Facebook, it's Facebook /Podfather Gaming. On YouTube, it's the Podfather of Gaming YouTube channel. And I promise you will enjoy some of the stuff that I've been putting up there. It's just been fun, not having to stress out about the next container that's coming in to make a street date or the printing files for a given game that I have to do, but simply to relax. I can wear my palm tree shirts here in Florida, go in my pool, relax a little bit, but at the same time, stay relevant with some of these social media activities that I've been doing. It's been a lot of fun.
I was about to razz you about being terrible at being retired, but then you were like, "But I relax."
But I relax. No, it is funny. Like I wake up and Paula says, "Okay, Steven," she's like my assistant, and she keeps the calendar, our social calendar, my professional calendar now. And she's like, "Oh, Steven, today you got this and you got this, and you got this." I'm like, that's a lot of work for a retired guy, isn't it? But I raging extrovert, right? I mentioned that. Right. I want to continue reaching out, and I want to stay I want to stay amongst people. I want to stay amongst the gamers, and it's fun. I'm doing only the fun things, and not doing the annoying things that are day-to-day drudgery. So you might say, "Gosh, you're bad at retiring because you keep doing things," but I'm like, when we can start traveling again, you might not see me for weeks at a time because I'm going to get on. I'm going to Europe. I'm going to Australia at some point. I've never been to Australia in my life. I'm going to. I was supposed
That's
to be.
fair.
I was supposed to be just coming back from a Japan cruise right now. I mean, that's a
I'm
first world
sorry.
problem now, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
the definition of a first world problem. BGG at Sea was going to be going from Vancouver all the way. Well, it was Vancouver to Alaska and then all the way to Japan, and I would be just getting back. I would have been seeing Japan in 4 different ports
I
next
am
year.
not letting you into any of my conventions after you get off a cruise ship until we have dunked you in a tank of Lysol. I'm telling you that right now.
I'm not. I haven't done any. So I missed out on all these cruises this year. Don't worry.
I'm sorry.
I'm clean. I'm clean.
I'm just telling you, tank of Lysol.
Tank of
What
Lysol.
was
You
I
spray
gonna
me
ask?
down.
Yep. I had a thought and I lost it.
You had a thought.
It's gone. That's okay.
Industry, gaming, cruising, vacationing, Australia. I'll just keep throwing out the words I just used until it comes back to you. I really miss you, Abby. I miss you and Vinny. We
I
don't
miss
talk.
you.
We don't talk nearly enough. I talk to Vinny once in a while in some texts, and Vinny's got this little text chain that goes on where he like talks about space aliens and things like that. And I'm like, you are out of your freaking mind. And then like
Everybody has hobbies.
and then Dan DiLorenzo chimes in like, no, it's real, it's real. And then his brother Frank, and you know them, and they're like me and my brothers. They're like Italians of the same family get together and they just like love each other and they fight like friggin' crazy. And the two of them, and Frank's like, "You're a bunch of idiots, no aliens," and Vinny's like, "No, but you haven't seen this, and you haven't seen it." It's every once in a while this comes up.
Nerds, man.
This is like it's like nerdgasming going on about like who's more right about aliens and things like that. This is what I do now.
I spend a lot of energy doing very grounding things on Facebook and giving people points of connection. So the thing I was going to say is, what are the chances that you might crash some of the events that are posted, some of the things on the gateway to be a player and see the actual digital implementation of some of the things you're really fond of from the Stronghold catalog?
I would love to. I just, haven't dug deeply into that. I would love to. If anybody would like to invite me, so and again, the problem sometimes is that like you have to learn that interface and stuff. But if they don't mind a novice at the interface and something,
the entire point of the gateway is
cool.
that everybody that is running games through the gateway is prepared to help you onboard onto the platform and teach the game.
And I'll reach out to people. If anybody wants to play a game of, I mean, the one digital implementation I play a lot is, or a decent amount, not a lot, I would say, is Terraforming Mars. If you want to invite me to a Terraforming Mars game one night, I'll play with you too. But if you want to invite me to any game, I mean, I have a certain style that I like more than others, and I normally don't like to play games that like go on for like 9 hours, like really, unless it's War of the Ring, which I'll play forever because it's just my favorite thing. But so yeah, you can reach out. I'm on Facebook. I'm ubiquitous out there. So just hit me up on a media and we can schedule something. Obviously, my days are even more or even less busy than my evenings sometimes, because sometimes I just want to relax with Paula or something like that. But hit me up if you want to invite me to something. I'm there. I mean, I want to see people. I want to do things. Let's do it.
People will often ask me to do introductions, and sometimes I'm like, no, I'm not going to borrow that. But if you want an introduction to Steven, just ping me, and I'll make the connection.
No,
as he's mentioned, he is a raging extrovert,
and that's honest. It's not like I'm just saying it now to make good video live streaming here, but like recently, Rachel Blasky, lovely person. We met last year, and we've been doing a lot of talking, and she just said Steven, this guy wanted to meet you and he wants you to do this, Chris Goodlet, and he does the Charity Gamer, which is a cool thing.
He might actually be logged in. He might be watching.
Chris, are you on there? I'm going to be doing the Charity Gamer live stream end of October, I think. I forgot when it is, but I'm doing that. And I'm going to be talking about the Jack Vassil Memorial Fund, which is
Okay.
As something near and dear to my heart, and it could be it should be on people's minds who know maybe a gamer who's in need. So, yeah, so I'm there. I'm available. Just, I'm not available 24/7 for you, but some people maybe,
Boundaries are healthy.
Boundaries are good. Boundaries.
Awesome. So that's 1 hour. Thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Abby, it's so good seeing you.
I think
Really.
this was an excellent way to launch the gateway. I really appreciate your time. Audience members, thank you so much. We are going to upload this to YouTube. It'll live forever on the internet. And in the show notes, we'll make sure that everybody's social media and all of the links that got mentioned get listed.
Thank you. And I will put it on one of my playlists to show that,
Perfect.
hey, go check it out. Thank you,
Awesome.
Abby. Appreciate it. Bye,
My
guys.
pleasure. All right. And Andy's going to kill the feed for us. And as soon as that happens, we will disconnect from Zoom.
Tell me when I'm